All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Thursday, August 5th. So, one more day of the week. Theme of the day, pretty strong rally day, really good market breadth. The small caps, micro caps were up 2% for the day, so very, very strong ahead of that jobs report tomorrow. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any recommend not giving out any recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for information, education purposes only. If the screen is a little bit blurry, it's just because YouTube takes a long time to render their high definition video, and just give it a little bit more time. So yeah, that's the performance, and overall, I would say like a pretty good participation day. We saw a lot of the beaten up areas the last couple days, like for example, around close to the top of the list is the travel names, which got beaten up pretty badly the last couple days on the Delta variant stuff. So kind of a bit of a snapback rally there. Biotech was up really big today. That was up 3.8%. Really interesting. We could start there because I like to start with with some of the things that I find are interesting. But you've seen this massive rally in healthcare, and today this kind of took the day off, but because it is extended. But this is the XLV. It is striking to me the difference between healthcare, which this ETF does have biotech in it. It also has medical devices, which we know those have been on an absolute tear. If you're not familiar with that ETF, it's IHI. But if you start to kind of go to your more risky areas of the market, finally this IBB has been ripping as well. That's up 1.6%. We got long that about 2 weeks ago in the TTG Trend Portfolio. So that is working quite nicely. And then the underperformer has been the equally weighted biotech, right? More small caps, right? Because it's equally weighted. I mean, what a different picture. Like, I can't even fathom being picking your ETF by name and not looking to see, what the chart is showing you. But you pick the equally weighted biotech because you think it's more diverse. And it's probably down for the year at this point, or if not close to it. And if you would have said, "Hey, I don't want to go into the conservative healthcare names," this is the rally that you missed, right? So again, it is crazy to see that performance. Let's see what it is year to date. Because I like to talk about this kind of stuff when you've got such different performance within a larger group. So here it is. It's up. XLV is one of your best performing sectors in the S&P this year, up 18.7%. And if you look at like biotech, which you think you're getting more, you're getting more return because there's it's a sexier group and it's more growth. It's down 11% year to date, 28%, right? And I have a chart of this too. So, will this group catch up? I mean, it's possible, but I like to stick with the trends, right? So where's my XLV chart? XLV XBI, right? So that's been the performance, and you can see the last couple of days it's come in. I like to look at this in terms of 5 years, but man, this is funny. Somebody asks me all the time, and they may be watching this video, but they always ask me for the flows for biotech. And I see somebody on Twitter who they're always talking about the inflows into biotech, right? And they're using some brokerage report, and they're lumping all the biotech and ETFs in together, and they're saying, "Hey, XBI had a big inflow," and it's really not. It's the XLV that's been having all the inflows. 90% of the inflows have been in this ETF XLV, as well as VHT, Victor, Harry, Tom. And the IBB and the XBI really haven't been seeing much inflows at all. But I love how Twitter people like to categorize it so that it benefits them. If they're like strictly a biotech trader, they'll lump the XLV in there, which is 90% of the flows, and then they'll say it's XBI. So anyway, I don't care if that person is watching this, so be it. They should know because they're really manipulating what the data is. So anyway, we'll move on. But again, you know, very interesting to see that. And I think I picked the right one the last couple of weeks ago when I went long IBB. I liked what it was doing. So that was up 1.6% today. Pot stocks. This group has really been under pressure. I don't know if anybody's seen a chart of this stuff, but man, so some of this stuff can bounce, right? You look at this stuff and you're like, "Oh, geez, what's going on with the pot stocks?" Well, take a look. It's having an up day and a downtrend, right? And does this look like something that you want to buy if you're a trend trader, right? Everything that I do is trend trading, right? So no, I would like if I was long this group, I would be selling it here. Or if you're playing it because you've got some support versus 17, that's fair. You could do that. But I would be cognizant of this 200-day moving average, and maybe you look for another dollar, which is a decent percentage. I get it, but I would be careful with anything in downtrends. This is one of my sayings all the time. Stuff in downtrends could bounce. Very hard for them to turn trends. A lot of newer traders who not really well versed in the trend trading philosophy always seem to think that when stuff is down, it's a good thing. If you know a little bit about trend trading, you know that if names are down, it's not a good thing, right? It's showing distribution. It's not really showing in any institutional interest, right? Those are the things that usually get it going, right? Unless there's some type of message board short squeeze where everybody's buying at the same time. That's a whole nother topic. All right, so other performers for the day. I want to get into some individual chart names, but the banks had a decent day today. Finally, TLT was down a little bit. TLT has been so strong, right? So a little bit of a move up in rates gives a relief balance to some of those things. Remember, when TLT has been going up, right, and this is the chart of TLT, right? It has been providing this big move in some of the growth stocks, or one of the catalysts behind some of the move in the growth stocks. But again, I would watch. You got a level to watch right here, which is 149.70. So that kind of just brings me to the next topic because this will probably move a little bit tomorrow. We have a jobs report tomorrow. So before I get into my trades, and then I'll kind of circle back to that. But here's my trades, of course, and also my commentary. One of the things that I said was, whenever there's a big economic report, I always review my holdings, especially option risk. If I don't have an option trade on specifically for the jobs report or a catalyst type trade, or if I do have option trades on, but I'm not comfortable with that risk because options are much more volatile, I do some trimming and adjusting, right? So I try to do that a little bit today. It's tough. It's tough to kind of abandon some trades just because, you've got a jobs report. But let's look ahead for tomorrow, right? So they're going to be, I guess they're expecting for tomorrow, change in private payrolls is pretty close to what they're expecting for the non-farm payrolls, 858,000. So you kind of have to remember, if there is a positive jobs report, well, it's probably going to be good news equals bad news, right? Why is that? Because a positive or really strong jobs report gives the Fed a signal that that the economy is doing better, and they could start to taper those asset purchases faster if the jobs market is recovering. So, be mindful of that. What I always like with these reports, for specifically when you kind of think about the implications with tapering and the possibility of an interest rate increase down the line, is I would want a report like right on the screws. Right around like 800,000, 900,000, you probably won't see that much of a reaction. I don't really want it to miss because then it means that our economy, there's something going on that's not good. But I don't want to see like a 1.2 number. We come up with a 1.2 number, this market's probably going to sell off a bit. That's my guess for tomorrow. So again, good to kind of think, even though I mainly trade single stocks and ETFs, it's important to have a little bit of a macro view to kind of help you with your risk management. So let's get into some of those trades. So really some interesting earnings reports, but kind of knew that this was going to be a better week, I thought, for earnings reports than the big FANG names, right? The big FANG names are kind of a pain in the, a pain. They're such big components of the indices, but something like this, really nice. I was trying to buy this thing a little bit after hours yesterday, and I didn't get it. It's a very wide stock, but we have this in the TTG Trend Portfolio, right? We put this in a few months back, HubSpot, and a really nice breakout of the range there, and closed on the absolute high. So I'm hoping that this thing keeps going. Look at the volume today too. That's a great sign. Some other fantastic reports. Melly had a big day. We added this a couple weeks ago too. So if you're interested, so I do two types of things at Tribeca Trade Group. I have a trading account, right, where I do swing trades, a little bit of day trades, some short-term, medium-term, some long-term trend trades in there too, both stock and options. Right now I'm trading more stock than anything else, but I do use options here and there for certain situations and for looking for some quick moves and some things. But I also have more of an investing account, right? So that is the TTG Trend Portfolio, and I have about 30 names in there, and that's the names that I really want to hold long term. And it is, as it's called, it's a trend, trend trading philosophy. So we are actually starting a part-time program in a week or so, where if you're a member of Tribeca Trade Group, you have access to both, right? But the part-time membership will just be for the investing account. So we will have that up on our website soon. So we'll have that. So yeah, I love to do this. I mean, especially it's quite rewarding when you've got a couple names like this in the portfolio do very well. So here's what it kind of looks like. And this is how I manage it, right? So you can't see the tickers here, but here was our hubs. I think this was Melly, also SE, which we've had in here for a while. This thing broke out today too, so very strong. So it's nice. I love it when I'm kind of running on all, hitting on all cylinders. We had 3 or 4 names really hit very nicely in the TTG Trend Portfolio, and which we made another substitution today too. So it's kind of exciting. And then of course for today's trades, right, I talked a lot about Zoom yesterday. Inside day today, I'm still holding my position, basically flat, and a couple other names very close to breaking out. I thought we had the CrowdStrike breakout today, but just could not get through value. So the level to watch, again, the value areas are so important in trading for me, right? But you could see exactly where this thing stopped, right? And you had to get through 2 of them. You had to get through, there's a lot of resistance at this 366. So it just may take a little time. I don't consider this a bad thing. I just think you have to have a little bit more patience. A name that I've tried to have some patience with recently is this MDB, right? And this is finally working. So after I put this thing on somewhere in here, it's now starting to work. But you got a VPOC up here, so I'll probably look to take another target up at around 381. All right. So sorry, I was just looking at the price of something. A couple other names that reported after the close. This Carvana is going to be really interesting if it's still up here. 370. So you're going to have another breakout. So some of these growth names, it's and what we said going into earnings season was we're going to find some names that could potentially be new names that we're going to want to trade for the next quarter. So a Carvana, a HubSpot, right? A Melly. I know there's a number of other names too that have done very well too. Microsoft made a little bit of money on that one. I'm waiting for this BILL to kind of break out. I couldn't resist, even though I didn't really want to add a lot of risk. But I like this little flag that this thing is putting out. It did not get. It tried it, but it just did not get through value for the day. All right. And what else did I do today? Like I said, I didn't do a whole lot because I've got some trades on, and things are working decently. But Carvana, what other names did I want to talk about today? TDC, that was a name that we talked about in terms of earnings. I did go long this one. I went long two names I put on two earnings trades. TDC was one of them. I bought the September 55 calls. So I should be able to make a little bit of money on this, considering that there'll be some time value on that, right? We saw some August 55 calls trading earlier in the week. I explained that in Monday's video. I decided to take a shot on it. The other name that I went long is Zilla. Oh, Zilla's actually back a little bit. I don't really understand why they beat this name up so much. The numbers were pretty darn good, and you're looking at a name. Now again, it's an expensive name, right? So if you look at, it's important to recognize this, right? The price to sales ratio, or I guess they don't even have price to sales on it for some reason in here, but they're not a cheap name, right? And that's part of the issue. But the some names, they're looking for more out of them, and perhaps with this, it was the fact that they're not making money. Right, the revenue's great. They boosted their yeah. So that maybe it's this. They have a lower forecast. Right, this is the third quarter forecast, and the revenue looks like they're going to crush estimates, but not so much the earnings. So maybe that's what the issue is with this name. But you talk about an underperformer. But we'll see. Maybe something turns around in the overnight market. It's got to get through that value area, 111. Net was another one that I thought ran a little bit too much into the report. And again, it's important to look at these names, and what their earnings history is. Right? If it doesn't have great earnings history, right? So net is a good one to look at, right? We looked at Fastly yesterday. Where did Fastly end up today? It came back a little bit, but still, right? The earnings history to me is so important. And again, all I'm looking at is this right column, right? What the stock does the next day after earnings. And look at Fastly. Like, this isn't something to mess with. This isn't something to say, hey, I'm going to go out of consensus. Versus Hubs. Right? Look at Hub's earnings history. Don't you think that they know what they're doing? And versus a Fastly, right? It's not by accident that over the last 10 quarters they've had 70% of the time they've crushed it. So it's not random, is what I'm trying to say. There's something behind. The company knows how to set the bar and then jump over the bar for earnings, right? There's other companies that do a really poor job at it, right? They're setting the expectations too high. They're over promising and under delivering. I want the companies that know how to play the game, right? They're probably under promising and over delivering every single, 7 out of the last 10 quarters. So in any event, good day all around. I'm pleased this week, and I think for tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's probably going to be a coin toss with the jobs report. So we've had a nice week. We finally got a day where there wasn't that many bumps in the road in terms of selling off, not being able to hold gains. So you got it today, right? So the question is, and I know this is the tough thing about trading, right? If I think that there's not too much edge tomorrow, right? You reduce a little bit of risk. I got rid of a couple trades into today. Probably not as much as I really want to get rid of, but I'm okay how I'm positioned. But it's always about greed in this market, right? Everybody, every trader, every investor, we all want more, right? But the tough thing is really kind of dialing it down when you know that you may not have any edge, But it depends, right? It depends if you are a trader or an investor. If you're a long-term investor, you don't have to be as nimble and maybe as concerned about making all the right moves and reducing risk. But if you're a trader and you're playing with things like options, then you want to be cognizant when you don't have as much of an edge. So that's my opinion. Guys, have a great night. Awesome week so far. and I'll see you guys tomorrow.